Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about reading the case activity log, the audit trail that every Cympha case carries. This lecture is for anyone on a case. The doctor who submitted it, the lab manager, the designer, the intaker, or a colleague it was shared with. Whenever you need to know what happened to a case when it happened, and who did it, the log is where you look. By the end, you'll know where the log lives, what every icon and color means, how to find one specific event fast. And this is the subtle part, how the doctor's view of the log differs from the lab's. Follow along with any case open, or listen now and read the written guide later. Let's start with what the log actually is. The activity log is the case's audit trail. Every meaningful event on the case gets appended as a row, oldest at the top, newest at the bottom, so it reads in the order things happened. Each row carries 4 things: an icon and color that tell you the event type at a glance, the name of the person or the system that did it, a summary line describing what happened, and a timestamp on the right, formatted as month, day, and your local time. And the log is live. The case page subscribes to updates from the server, so new events appear as they happen. You don't need to reload to see the case move. Finding it takes seconds. Open the case from your case list, and you land on the case detail page. The log lives in the left column, under the heading Activity Log, sitting just above the case chat panel. And here's a small but pleasant detail. The log is always present. It's not a tab you have to switch to, not a report you have to run. As soon as the page loads, the timeline is there. That's a deliberate choice. The history of a case isn't an afterthought you go digging for. It's part of the case's face. This is the case detail page. The left column is the part we care about today, the running timeline of everything that has ever happened on this case. Notice that it sits right next to the files, the patient information, and the assignment panel. That proximity is the point. When a question comes up, did the doctor ever see this file? When did the status change? Who was holding the case last Tuesday? You answer it from the same screen where you do the work. No exports, no separate audit system, no asking a colleague to check their email. The simplest way to use the log is to read it top to bottom, like a story. It opens with the case being submitted, then intake, who reviewed it and what they decided, then the designer assignment. From there, every file that was uploaded, every status change, every comment and email exchanged, and every approval, rejection, or escalation, each in its place in the sequence. For most questions, the everyday what's going on with this case, that single skim is all you need. You don't need to memorize icons or learn any filters first. Start at the top, read to the bottom, and the case explains itself. Now let's decode the event types, because each one has a distinctive icon and color, and once you know them, your eye finds things fast. A green person plus icon is the case being created, the doctor submitting it to the lab. A blue arrow is a status change. The summary reads from one status to the other, say submitted to intake review or designing to awaiting approval. And when the transition is part of an approval flow, the step name appears in parentheses, treatment plan, for example, so you know which review milestone it was. A violet icon with a check mark and a person is a designer assignment. Someone was put on the case, or a different person took over. And an amber upload icon is a file arriving. The row reads simply, this person uploaded this file. For more, and you've seen them all, a red minus is a file being removed. Someone deleted an attachment, and yes, that gets logged too. A slate color tag is a label being added or removed, either on the case or on one of its files. Things like a quality check pass label or a phase 1 label on an aligner case. A muted chat bubble is a comment. It renders as a small card with the author's name and a message body. And pay attention to this one. If the lab marked it visible to customer, it carries a small green eye badge, so the lab can tell at a glance which internal notes the doctor can also see. And a sky blue mail icon is a formal email the lab sent to the doctor. The subject line and the body are shown right in the case, and the doctor got the same thing in their inbox. One special mark deserves its own slide. Some file upload rows carry an indigo robot icon instead of the amber one. That means the upload didn't come through a browser. It came in through the Cympha agent, the desktop bridge that watches a workstation and sends files up automatically. The actor on the row is still a human. It's the user whose Cympha account the agent is paired with. And after the name, you'll see a suffix, via Cympha agent, with the workstation's name in parentheses. So on a lab running several machines, you can tell exactly which workstation the file came from. When you're reconstructing what an automated pipeline did, those robot rows are the trail it left. The log isn't paginated, and there's no in-page search box. And for a typical case, it doesn't need one. The scroll is short enough that a visual scan works. But when you're chasing one specific thing, scan by icon. Looking for a particular file? Find the upload icons, Amber or the Indigo robot, and read off the file names. Looking for when a status changed? The blue arrows jump out, and the from in a summary gives you the transition. Want to know what the customer was told? Sky blue mail icons are the formal emails, and chat bubbles with the green visible to customer badge are the internal comments the doctor can also see. One thing the log does not tell you directly is who currently holds the case. For that, look at the right column under assignment. It shows the current assignee and their role. And when a case gets long enough that scanning stops being practical, your browser's own find-in page, Control-F on Windows, Command-F on a Mac, works against the rendered text of the log, which is often the fastest route to a file name you already half remember. Here's the subtle part. What you see depends on who you are. Lab personnel, the lab manager, intakers, designers, quality control, manufacturing, see the full log. Every event, every comment, every file action, including internal comments that were never marked visible to the customer. The doctor sees a filtered view. Every event carries its own customer visibility flag, and the doctor only sees the events flagged for them. In practice, that means comments the lab explicitly marked visible to customer, emails the lab sent them, rendered as a message from the lab, everything the doctor themselves did on the case, and file uploads that arrive through a desktop agent, plus the doctor's own uploads. Those agent uploads matter. When a review file arrives via the agent and triggers an approval request, the doctor can see the upload that caused it. Lab browser uploads, by contrast, stay lab side by default. The split is intentional. The lab keeps frank internal notes on the case, while the doctor gets a clean record of everything that pertains to them. One principle governs everything you've seen. The log only ever appends. Nothing in it is editable or deletable from the interface. Once an event is logged, it stays. That's deliberate. The log is the source of truth for who did what and when on the case. And if history could be rewritten, it would be worthless the one day you really need it. So if you spot something that looks wrong, a file uploaded by the wrong person, a status change that shouldn't have happened, don't try to correct the log because you can't and you shouldn't. Instead, post a comment explaining what actually happened, so the record carries the correction alongside the event. Or escalate the case so a lab manager can look. For situations account for nearly every confused reading of a log. If it says no messages yet, no events have been recorded. Usually a freshly created case that hasn't been submitted, or a system-created case nobody has touched. If a status change you expected isn't there, two possibilities. Either the case never actually moved, someone clicked approve, the validation failed, and the transition never happened. They saw a toast, but no log entry exists, or you're viewing as the doctor, and that event wasn't marked visible to customers. Lab personnel see every event, so ask someone lab side to check. If an upload shows the wrong person, remember agent attribution. The upload is credited to whoever's account the agent is paired with, even if a colleague dropped the files into the watch folder. Pair the agent to whoever actually does the uploading. And if the log stops updating live, the subscription probably dropped on a network blip. The refresh button at the top right of the case page forces a refetch. So that's the activity log. Always on the case, always in order, never rewritten. Read it top to bottom when you want the story. Scan by icon and color when you're hunting one event. Blue arrows for status changes, upload icons for files, mail and green-eye badges for what the customer was told. Remember that the doctor and the lab are reading two different views of the same trail, and that agent uploads carry a workstation name when you need to trace a machine. Once a team learns to trust the log, most who did what conversations simply stop happening because the answer is already on the page and nobody can quietly change it. The written version of this walkthrough, including the full icon and color table you can keep open beside a case, is at cympha.com under Docs, titled Read the Case Activity Log. We're covering every Cympha workflow in this series, one lecture at a time, so subscribe if you'd like the rest. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.